Welcome to Out with Dan, the podcast that spotlights and examines the voices of LGBTQ+ authors, characters, and our allies. Together, we lift our voices and we tell our stories. I'm Dan White. Join me as I chat with this week's author. Hello and welcome back to Out with Dan. Today I'm excited to talk to Russ Tamblyn about Dancing on the Edge. Russ is an Academy Award nominated actor and a Golden Globe winner and a Golden Laurel nominated. Welcome, Russ.
Thank you, Dan. Glad to be here and talk to you.
I'm very excited. This book was so heartfelt. You could tell that you did such a loving tribute to not only your own life, but the life of your friends and the people you've worked with. It was different than some, say, autobiography of stars, where they might be a little more salacious. Yours was a lot more heartfelt.
Oh, well, thank you.
I noticed in the book, it took quite a while to write it. How long did you work on
it? 25 years, about. Maybe even a little longer than 25 years. It wasn't steady writing. It was off and on. Sometimes I'd give it up for months at a time, but I started it 25 years ago.
Oh, that's absolutely wonderful. So in your career, you've been an actor, a dancer, a choreographer, and a director, among other things. Of those four, is there one that is your preference?
That is my what?
Preference. So you're an actor, a dancer, a choreographer, and a director. So do you have a preference to one of those four?
I think I prefer being an artist more than anything, because it's wide open. And, when you do a movie, you read somebody else's lines that they wrote. So it's when you're an artist, you can do whatever you want. And
and that's something fun. I've noticed several singers and actors are also artists, and I think it's because we get an artistic nature to our personality. So what type of art do you like to make best?
Well, it's contemporary art, mainly collages. I was into collages for most of my art, but I call it mixed media.
Okay.
Because I also do pieces that involve stuff. Assemble.
Yes. Well, and I do know that you were talking about being on a set in Arizona, I think it was, where you brought back a suitcase full of things that you had found while off of the set, roaming around, and you brought back with you. I think that's so novel. When you see a piece that you pick up or procure, do you see the artwork then, or does it come to fruition later on?
Let's see. I guess it's just something that my eye catches. Sometimes I like stuff that that a lot of people would say, "Oh, that's just junk," But if it's got a shape to me and I like it, then I call it art.
There you go. I love it. And I do think when we're able to do creative things, it gives us such pleasure, because it is part of our soul that we bring out in that creativity.
Yeah, and I'm certainly proud of all the. What is this, Bonnie?
It's a piece that you assembled. Hold it from the bottom. You can show it to Dan.
This is one of the things, if you can see it, it's pretty.
Nice. I like that.
You see the butterfly.
I just put it together.
Oh, that is so cool.
Yeah,
so you see something and then you make it come to life. Oh, I love that. That is beautiful.
We found around.
And that's just one of a little nothing things. Sometimes I see something and I'll bring it home and then I'll put it together with something else. And can you get my puzzle for him? I'd like to show that to him.
Okay.
Oh, I would love that. So, a movie question: was there one director that you always wanted to work with that you didn't get a chance to work with?
Yeah, Steven Spielberg.
Okay.
Even though he signed my book, and but I never did a film for him. But I was lucky enough to have worked with Robert Wise and David Lynch and Quentin Tarantino. Hey, look at this piece.
Oh my goodness, that is amazing.
I don't know if you can even see it, but
Well, I can see it. I'm just not sure of all of the.
Just
Oh, wow.
it's a puzzle. There you go.
It's a puzzle. But here, let go.
But in a different way than say the box said to put it.
Well,
I love that. That is beautiful.
the top part is the way the puzzle was supposed to be,
Okay.
and then I put the pieces together, but I put them together my way.
I love that. I love that.
Well, all the pieces you can see are just nothing.
You put them in the Russ way, not the box way.
Okay.
I used an X-Acto knife, so I made all the pieces fit.
Oh,
Okay.
that is amazing. I love people with talent like that. Just as in dancing, I won't be an artist competitor for you, nor will I ever be a dance competitor for you, because I didn't get that gene.
Oh, well, yeah, a nice art piece behind you. I can see.
Thank you. Yeah, I am very fond of art. So this is one of my favorite artists, Jess Black, and I have several of her pieces. And just, I love anything that calls my eye. I'm just one of those people that always on the hunt for a new piece of art.
Well, I have a saying that there are two different kinds of art that I know that I've been involved with. One is a performance art, and another is fine art. And in the performance art, I always say you do whatever you can to make the audience's head spin. Make
Yes.
movies and that. But when you do fine art, you just make your own head spin, and that's the difference.
I love that. I did notice several places in your book that you're a wee bit of a philosopher, Russ. There's one of your philosophies. One of the other things I wrote down, I have it somewhere, the positive power of no thinking.
Yeah, well, it actually started off as the positive power of, or the power of positive thinking. And then I went to the positive power of negative thinking. And I wasn't just a play on words. It was, I actually used that positive power of negative thinking, and I found that it worked. And the difference is that, like, if I was going to go to an event, and I use the positive power of the, if I thought positive about it, and it turned out to be just so, I would say, well, it wasn't as good as I thought it would be because I was thinking positive about it. But if I had a negative thinking, I thought, oh my God, I'm going to go to this event and it's going to be awful. If it's going to be awful, and I go to it and it turns out to be not half bad, the same way I go, well, that was a pleasant surprise. But that worked great. And then I just got to a point where I just used my senses, and that's when I began to think, no thinking, no thought.
Well, I think, expectations are the one thing that disappoint us the most in life. If we expect it to be something, we overshadow the experience sometimes because we don't let the event blossom on its own. We put a label on it in advance, and then we're the ones that will either be pleasantly surprised or greatly disappointed, one or the other.
Well said. Yeah, that's pretty much.
It's one of those things that, it is great to be a positive thinker. I mean, I try to go through life thinking positive thoughts, but some things just aren't positive, and we just have to learn to live with it.
Yeah. Well, I started out for so many years doing movies, and where you always had to be careful and make them a certain way. And there were big companies, and you had good directors and good writers. But I first started artwork with bought myself an 8 millimeter camera, and I could shoot from the hip, and and that's what I love to do. It was not telling a story anymore, or nobody wrote it. It was just visual stuff, and a lot of times, a lot of comedy went into stuff that I shot. I would shoot like a no parking sign, and then you'd see the no parking sign, and then the camera, I would turn it, and there'd be a whole line of cars all parked along there.
Of course, wherever it says don't, we humans want to do it.
Yeah.
So, of the people you've worked with in your career, who would you say you thought was the most giving person that you ever worked with? Whether it was giving as far as a job or just a gifted person that you worked with?
Well, there were so many. I mean, it's hard to pick one out, but I think probably David Lynch was one of my favorites because he was just kind of open-minded, and I know when I did Twin Peaks, and I went to and when I knew I had the part, I went down to the Venice Boulevard, and I thought I want to get some colored glasses, either red ones or blue or green or something. So I got these. I started looking at all the glasses, and I held them up, and I boiled it down to. I got it down to two, to a red pair and a blue pair, and I kept putting them back up on my eyes. Each one putting up to look. And I finally held them both, one lens over one eye and one over the other. And I said, that's it. Glasses with one blue lens and one red one. And I used, I can't think of what it is now. Can you, Bonnie? It's
bicameral brain.
The bicameral brain. And I had this memorized once, but now I'm getting too old. But the bicameral brain, I put that the side of the brain that is the creative side, I put a blue lens so it would sort of calm it down. And the other side, the academic side, I put a red lens over it so that it would give it some life, and more life than it would normally be. And when I made the glasses and made that statement, I thought, well, I'll take it to David and see if I can use them. And because of course he's the boss. So I showed him the glasses and the colors, and I explained how that affected the bicameral brain and everything. And he said to me, he had a high voice, and he said, Russ, that's terrific. I just love it. But I'll tell you what, let's not tell anybody what it means. People try and figure it out for themselves.
I love that. And it's always nice to work with someone who's willing to say, why not?
Yeah.
Let's do something different. So he certainly did a lot of unique stuff. So that I know someone else that was in one of his shows is Ann Miller. Did you dance with Ann ever?
No. Well, but I did a couple of dance numbers that she was in, but in Hit the Deck.
Okay.
We worked together, and we did one number where Tony Martin and Vic Damone and I walk out, and then it was on a ship, and she danced tap dances all over the place. We danced with her, but I did dance with I danced with Yvette Mimieux in The Wonderful World of the Brothers Grimm, and I danced with Debbie Reynolds in Hit the Deck. We danced together. She was fabulous, great partner, and I think that was about it with the people the ones that I danced with.
So did you have a favorite dance partner beside Bonnie?
Um, oh, probably Debbie Reynolds. I think was the most fun to dance with because she. And there's a picture of us in the book where we're on the floor and I'm laying back in her lap, and it was we were tired. We just kind of fell down one time, and I love that picture, and I carried it around in my wallet for a long time.
She was certainly a huge entertainer. I mean, and entertainer is the right word. I mean, there were very few things that Debbie Reynolds couldn't do. Just so enjoyable.
True. Yeah, she was a good friend.
Oh, how nice. So one other little philosophy you said that you brings a lot of joy to you is sort of having traded the red carpet for the red bricks of your home where you live at home. And
Oh,
that was something that really spoke to me, Russ, because what I felt like was, you have had this enormous life. You've been on the red carpet many times, but the fact that you find the red bricks of your home just as exciting and loving is a wonderful tribute.
well, it's totally different. I mean, you get on a red carpet and it premieres and all of that, and you're being interviewed and you're in the spotlight and lots of people are taking pictures, and so the comparison was kind of far out because in the red bricks in my patio here, I'm out there sweeping and cleaning the fountain, and all the neighbors are all coming by and hi Russ, so it's a whole different, nobody's taking any pictures or nobody cares, and so that makes it nice.
Yes, and I suspect sometimes for a performer, you have to be on. That's your job to be on. But I
Yeah,
think sometimes when you're able to flip the switch off and you're just Russ, it can be just as enjoyable because no one is pulling on your sleeve to ask you for something.
right. Yeah, and I did have a friend who lives up in front of me here, and he used to, when I was writing the book, I would call him, and he'd come over. He'd love to hear what I had written, so I'd read him. You know, I'd read him what I had written, and that way I got a feeling of somebody hearing it,
And
and
you get to see a reaction to it because there was some place in the book, I don't remember where, but you were talking about something that you thought was a lot more funny than anyone else. Oh yes, when the police came and you had to raise your hands, and you thought it was sort of funny, but they didn't find it funny at all because they thought you'd robbed the bank. So was there one moment in the book that was the hardest moment, or maybe one moment that brought you the biggest smile?
well, I think the moment when I was divorcing my second wife was probably a hard time that I went through, and it was hard to write it, uh, but I felt that I had to, and that's it. But I had lots of smiling times, that I had a
Well,
lot of fun.
I think honestly, there's that saying 6 degrees of separation from Kevin Bacon. I really do think 6 degrees of separation from Russ Tamblyn is the same thing because it's hard to imagine there's anyone that really you haven't worked with or worked adjacent within only a couple of inches or whatever, because you've worked with definitely the cream of the crop.
Yeah, well, it took me 89 years to do that.
Well, and if you hang around, maybe Steven Spielberg will still call. I hope so.
Well, we'll see. If he doesn't, that's okay too. But he's very sweet, and he's on the cover of my book. I guess
Yes,
he's such a big name, and
it always helps. Indeed, it does. So, Russ, do you have a website you'd like to share with the audience?
a website.
Yes.
Yes. Do you have a website?
What is it?
RussTamblyn.com.
Oh, that's
Well,
complicated.
yeah, that's direct and straight to the point, isn't it?
Yeah, Russ.
Well, again, Again, the book is Dancing on the Edge. Thank you so much for joining me, Russ.
Well, thank you, Dan, for the interview. It was great to talk to you.
Thank you. Same here. Hang on for me just a minute.
Sure.
Thank you for joining me for this week's episode of Out with Dan. You can find more information about this podcast and its host at outwithdan.com, on Twitter at outwithdan, and on Instagram and Facebook at Go Out with Dan. This podcast is hosted by Authors on the Air Global Radio Network, and the theme music is provided by bensound.com. Join us again soon for the next episode of Out with Dan.